Today we're going to be giving the Banshee Paradox a makeover. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know it's no secret that I love the Banshee Paradox V3. It was sitting in a box looking sad, so it's time to give it a makeover. We're going to be painting this frame and giving it a new look. I can't wait. As you guys know, I am an educator and I love teaching. I also love learning. And there are a lot of things I'm not good at, and painting frames is one of them. So this isn't going to turn out great, but it's going to be a fun learning experiment. And the outcome could be really cool if I pull this off. One of the main things I don't love about this frame is the paint. You got a little bit of chips there, some chip in there. That's my fault, I'm sure. A whole bunch of chips in here, which that's going to happen with any bike. We got a whole bunch of chips up here. So it does have a whole bunch of chips all over it, but I want to make this bike unique and make it mine, and so I'm going to repaint it. The first step is to clean up any chips and get all of that completely smoothed out. I'm going to use these Gojo scrubbing towels that I love so much. I'm going to be sanding it too, but we'll just start with this. Get all the crusty tailwind that's spilled on this off. I've complained about Banshee's less than perfect paint, and I'm about to make it way less perfect. I'm not usually big on appearances. I mean, I would love a gorgeous bike all the time, but I try to focus more on riding it than making it look pretty all the time. But I've been wanting a project, and this is gonna be a fun project. I'm a creative person, I like learning, and I learn best through mistakes, and so I'm not promising this is the right way to do it or that it's gonna turn out great, but maybe it'll make for some fun videos and teach you what not to do. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes too. Maybe there will be some elements of success. I need to have a positive attitude about this. Okay, I need to take off the chainstay protection. This is one of my favorite tools. It's called the Safe Scraper Blade. I'll put a link to this. It's a plastic razor blade. You just kind of scrape stuff off with it and it protects things. It doesn't destroy them completely. Now what I'm going to do is take some 400 grit sandpaper and sand around every chip just to kind of smooth it out a little bit to prep it for my filler I'm going to use. Now this is still gonna chip after I paint it, so it doesn't need to be perfect. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Rob Drew, who consulted me on how to prep this. He would have done a much better job. He's a professional body shop dude and he really knows his stuff, but thank you Rob for the tips. He told me to use 320 grit for all the chips and to use 600 grit everywhere else, followed by gray Scotch-Brite. I also need to remove everything that I don't want painted. So I've got the bottom bracket out. I need to remove the axle and the headset and the cups even. I like this derailleur hanger, that's pretty cool. Now anywhere something's press fit in like this, or the seat tube, or the head tube, or the bottom bracket, you don't want paint there because it's actually gonna make it too snug to fit back in. So if I do get, I'll try and tape it off. If I do get paint in there, I'm gonna have to sand it down. This frame is seriously light. I think it's slightly lighter than my tie frame. I'm also gonna remove and reuse this head badge, but I'm gonna paint it better because this one chipped right when I took it out of the box. I'm proud that this is a Banshee. This bike is so special, it really surprised me. It's a shame it even came with that nice yellow touch-up paint that I'm not gonna end up using. These are like magic, I love them. We'll take this to the sink and wash it off. There's still some dirt and grime on there. I wanna get it as clean as possible. All right, we got it all cleaned up. I wiped it all down with rubbing alcohol. Now we're ready to touch up some of these chips. And to do that, I'm going to be using glazing and spot putty. It's made by Bondo. This is for car auto body work. Basically, you put this stuff on the chips, spread it out, let it harden, sand it down, it fills in all those little cracks. Listen to this. Prolonged or repeated exposure may affect the hearing. Prolonged or repeated exposure may affect the lungs. may affect the nervous system, may irritate the nose and throat and cause dizziness, headache, or nausea. May cause fire, keep away from heat, sparks, flame, and sources of static discharge. This stuff's nasty. I'm gonna be sanding most of this off. This is not a how-to. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm faking it completely. It smells like those old Expo markers. Now I'm just gonna touch up the little spots that need it. What? I can't hear you. I shouldn't joke. This stuff is serious. The truth is there's gonna be way more imperfections in my paint than I'm fixing right now. So this is really the least of my worries. But I might as well try. I assume I'll get better every time I do this. Gotta start somewhere. A lot of chips under here. All the rocks that get thrown up from the front wheel. All right, I'm gonna set this outside to dry. All right, I got my 320 grit here. I'm just taking down the extra Bondo, the glazing putty, making everything super smooth. It dried really nicely. This is a great way to fill in little paint chips and stuff. Thanks, Rob, for that tip. They say when you paint that the prep work is the most time-consuming and the most important part. I'm excited for this part to be over, but I'm trying to take my time. This chain stereo is looking a lot better. The fact that I'm willing to spend hours and hours sanding and filling holes and fixing this frame, it should give you an idea how much I love this little Banshee. This bike was sure a surprise. I want to thank my viewers who suggested I test it, because I probably wouldn't have tested it without your recommendations, and I'm so glad I did. Now I'm using rubbing alcohol to clean off all the dust. I'm getting ready to tape it off. I got to get the surface totally clean so it'll accept paint. There's so many nooks and crannies on a frame. I kind of have to start at one point, like start at the seat post and work my way back so I don't miss anything. Yes, it would look better if I hired a professional to do it, but that's not really the point of this. The point of this is to have a project, bond with my bike, make it unique, one of a kind. And of course, to learn. I love learning. And usually learning means making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Filled that all in, that's nice and smooth. Now I've got 600 grit, and I'm just gonna do this everywhere to just kind of scuff up the paint so the new paint will stick to it. All right, after the 600, we're gonna take a gray Scotch-Brite pad, which is about 800, and just scuff up any other remaining parts, just to help that paint adhere between coats. Once again, this is not a how-to. I'm not a professional. I'm just walking you through what I did. We'll see how the end result looks. Probably about like you'd expect from someone who's not a professional painter. All right, now I got to get all that sanding dust off. So I'm using rubbing alcohol, which evaporates real quickly, and a paper towel. Don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's what I'm doing. That dust will prevent paint from sticking to it. If you got a bike that you're bored of how it looks, consider a DIY like this and tag me on Instagram and show me your project if you're doing it. There's some really talented people out there. I mean, we're not curing cancer. They're bikes that we ride in the weekend in the mountains to have fun. They don't need to be perfect. All right, now the final step before we apply paint is to mask off any areas that we don't want paint. I wish I had an old bottom bracket to thread in here, but I don't, so I'm just gonna mask off the face of this and then trim it down. Another spot I'm gonna mask is the brake mount has been machined down, so it sits flush on there. You don't want paint between mounting surfaces. All right, we're taped up, we're cleaned up, we're polished, sanded, scuffed. We're ready for paint.